Coming up right now on Animal Outtakes, what does a bobcat, a great horned owl, and a blind opossum have in common? Find out in this week's Preserve and Protect. Kids and Their Critters takes us chicken picking. You might be surprised to learn what a mother hen taught her owner about an important life lesson. And you're meeting these imperial descendants of a breed that began almost 3,000 years ago in the mountains of Tibet. That and more right now on Animal Outtakes. Hello and welcome to another edition of Animal Outtakes, where we learn from the animals and love them for it. That includes you too, Zeus. He is my buddy. This week we begin with a touching tale of rescue, rehabilitation, and survival. Three very different animals with one very important thing in common. Somebody saved their life. Their story is featured in this week's edition of Preserve and Protect. On 5 acres in southwest Florida, you'll find Wild Transport, a wildlife sanctuary and rehabilitation facility, and home to more than 100 different animals. Andrew Biddle and his wife, Jessica, dedicate their lives to helping rescue and protect them.
And we also do education. So we use animals for education, we help them rehabilitate, and we really just help them live the rest of their lives here, the ones that cannot be released.
And today, they are showing us a few animals that wouldn't survive without their help. Who do we have here?
This is Klaus. He's our great horned owl, and he's about a year old. And he was actually injured as a small baby, and he was not able to be released. He was deemed unreleasable, so he was brought here to us, where he'll live the rest of his life.
What type of food does he eat?
He feeds primarily on rodents. We do try to switch it around, so he'll get chicks, but his main diet is rodents. Those are the best overall diet for him.
Give us some of the characteristics, because of course that head is just turning and turning. Is it a 360?
They do about 270 degrees, so they can almost a full circle. Now the reason why they do that too is because they can't move their eyes. So their eyes are placed in their head and they can't move them. Like we can move our eyes to the left, to the right, they can't, so they have to be able to turn their head all the way around just about. And obviously he gets the name Great Horned Owl because of his little tufts right here. Makes it look like he has horns. One of the cool things I think is actually really neat about Great Horned Owls is they have no sense of smell. So that allows them to prey on things like skunks, things that most animals don't want to mess with because they smell so bad. This is Claire. She's our female bobcat, and she's about 4 years old. Fish and Wildlife brought her to a rehab center because she was hit by a car. She had to have surgery on her back leg. You can kind of see that it's got an injury to it. So it really limits her mobility. She can't get around very well. I had to build her a ramp so that she can get up on her platform. But she doesn't move a whole lot. In the wild, they'll feed on a lot of things from birds, fish, snakes. They're a predator. Here her majority is chicken, and we'll switch it up with rodents or things like that.
Well, Andrew, this is a very unusual opossum.
Yeah.
Is this a genetic mutation, or is this just bred like something?
No, this guy was found in the wild, and he's an albino.
And if he was to have stayed out wherever he was, chances are he would not have made it.
No, he would. He has no camouflage, obviously, so he's going to stick out like a sore thumb. Predators will be able to pick him off. They're nocturnal species, so they're not. You don't really have to. He wouldn't have to worry about as far as daylight because they spend most of their time sleeping. But at nighttime, you see a white furry thing running through the forest, you're going to notice him.
Yeah, that's a dead giveaway.
That's right.
So what does he normally eat?
They're omnivores, so he'll actually eat fruits, vegetables, and meat. Their favorite thing, I would say, or at least his, are grapes. He loves grapes.
Red or green?
It doesn't matter. He likes them both.
Do we know how long they live?
They have a short lifespan, so they live about 3 to 4 years in the wild. And then these guys are also the only marsupial in North America. So they're actually a marsupial. They have a pouch where they'll raise their young in their pouch. The mothers will, just like a kangaroo.
While these animals couldn't survive on their own in the wild, they will be taken care of here at Wild Transport. Did you know the great horned owl's hearing is so keen it can detect a mouse who just stepped on a twig from about 75 feet away? If you find a wild animal that's not acting normal, don't rush in to pick him up. Observe closely to make sure it does need help. And if you call an animal rescue number, don't leave the animal's side. Stay right there until help arrives. Here's a little riddle for you. What barnyard critter is an alarm clock, does her job while laying down, and is everybody's favorite breakfast maker? You'll find out in today's edition of Kids and Critters.
Today we're learning all about chickens and the hard work it takes to be in 4-H.
I started 4-H when I was 16, but I was in FFA before then. So I started FFA when I was 12.
And what is FFA?
It's the same thing as 4-H, except it's in school. It's Future Farmers of America.
Oh, okay. And what do you do for that?
It's the same stuff.
Same stuff? And how long have you shown chickens for?
3 years.
What is this chicken's name?
This chicken doesn't have a name, but her breed species is a golden lace Wyandotte.
And what is that kind of breed's personality like? Are they more like calm or?
Yeah, they're pretty friendly. They're very pretty and they're very easy to handle.
Do they lay like colored eggs? Because I know some do.
These ones lay a light brown. I think chickens are pretty goofy. I think their expressions are hilarious, especially when they kind of like turn their eye to look at you. Pretty soft if you want to.
Oh yeah, very soft. And is there like certain things you do in the show pen? Like how do you show them?
You have to, this one's not trained, so I'm not sure how well this will go, but there's one move where you flip it like this, and then you look at their eyes to make sure there's like no parasites and to make sure that they're like the right color for the breed. So you pretty much give them like a vet check, but you're also looking to make sure they have the qualities and traits of their breed.
I won first place in showmanship 2 years in a row so far. This year is my 3rd year. Hopefully I'll win first place again. It is fun to be around them because they can make you laugh because, like my sister said, the chickens are goofy and they can act weird a lot and it just makes you laugh a lot.
I've learned to have more confidence in myself, like with what I know and stuff, because right before show usually I'm like, I don't know anything about chickens and stuff, but then when my greatest accomplishment was probably 2 years ago, I got a perfect score in chicken showmanship. So it really boosted my confidence.
Well, that was really fun. We learned a lot about chickens, but there's still one question we don't know. What came first, the chicken or the egg?
Try it again. One thing you didn't.
Did you know chickens aren't totally flightless? They're able to fly short distances, far enough to get over a fence or into a tree. It's believed they originated from a domestic subspecies of the red jungle fowl, a member of the pheasant family native to Asia. And today, there are dozens of chicken breeds. With more than 25 billion chickens in the world, there are more chickens than any other bird species. Now that's one popular bird. Well, don't go away. There's much more still ahead, including this week's animal adventure. We'll take you behind the scenes when we return.
People have asked me what it'll cost to restore all the corals back to the way they remember. But I have to ask them, what will it cost if we don't do anything?
For thousands of years, we've been humans' best friend. You've been through a lot, and we've been right there with you. A dog is part of the family, a confidant, and a friend who always knows how to get into your heart. So what happens to our beloved companions when we can no longer care for them? This is why we've created Dante's Den, an innovative, state-of-the-art facility that will provide care for up to 100 dogs.
Dante's Den is a community for joyful dogs.
Millions of Americans face uncertainty when planning for the future of beloved pets who may well outlive them. Dante's Den is a charitable organization, so in whatever capacity you can, please lend your support so that we may continue this most wonderful work.
Dante and I would like to thank you for watching and for also opening up your hearts to our wonderful community of joyful dogs.
Learn about the many ways you could become involved by visiting dantesden.org.
Don't miss out on the Putting on the Poodle fundraiser November 1st from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Michael's on East in Sarasota. There will be a specially prepared lunch by Michael's and an exciting live and silent auction. Don't miss the dancing poodles and entertainment with songs by Andrew Cadell and Carl Bowman from Bark the Musical. Valet parking is available. Tickets are $85 for individuals and $125 for patrons. Save the date for Putting on the Poodle fundraiser November 1st from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Michael's on East in Sarasota.
Welcome back. What do you think, Zeus? Huh? Who knew that there were so many chickens in the world? And this is the point in the show where we take you on an adventure, an animal adventure. We meet a sulcata tortoise, and get this, a mata-mata. Found in the waters in South America, this turtle has a face only a mother can love. But if you look a little closer at the mata-mata turtle, he will surely make you smile.
One of the reasons that we like to show this guy is because of his face.
Oh my goodness.
He has a really, really cool head. From like this, he looks like a leaf.
Yes,
and that's for camouflage. They're a lot like a snapping turtle. So they are very stationary. They don't move around a whole lot. They'll plant themselves in one spot and they'll just wait for fish to come by. Now, they don't really have a beak like a snapping turtle, so when they bite it'll scare you, but it doesn't hurt very much. It's more of the shock of it. But they just swallow their prey whole. So he'll sit there, with his head up, and they've got a very long neck too, so they can reach, and you can see his little nose at the end of the little snorkel.
Yes, but you know what I can't see? His little eyes.
He's got two little eyes.
Are they right there?
Yep.
Okay, now I can see them.
They'll actually shed their skin a lot like a snake or any reptile for that matter. So that's where that little slough is coming off. And then it also works as camouflage. It looks like just a soggy leaf laying at the bottom of a river.
Now, Andrew, you keep talking about the mata-mata turtle and its smile. Really?
Yeah, these guys are known for their smile. They have this, they always look like they're smiling, so they call them the happiest turtles there are.
How long do these guys usually live?
They'll live 30, 40 years. Even in the wild, they have a long lifespan. In captivity, with any animal, with proper care and diet and stuff, they can live, upwards of 50 years.
A turtle like the mata-mata spends most of its life in the water, where a tortoise remains on land. Which brings us to this hefty reptile. Andrew, we have this gorgeous tortoise, and it is a boy, we know.
Yep.
And what's always amazing to me are the beautiful markings that are on the shell. But he's really carrying a big load, isn't he?
He is. He's a pretty heavy guy. He's an African spur-thigh tortoise, or a sulcata, and he's about close to 200 pounds, so he's a fairly large male.
So what does he eat mainly?
He's a grazer, so he eats a lot of grass. We also feed him a little bit of tortoise diet. They like flowers as snacks, some different vegetables like peppers, things like that.
I'm holding two babies.
Yes.
Right. And this is how they really get started.
This is how they come out. So this guy is not even a year old, and then this one is a little over a year. So you can kind of see the size difference in just a year. And you got to figure he's about 30 to 40 years old at his size.
And is he still growing?
He's still growing. See, reptiles, they never really stop growing. They slow way down, but they never stop. So they'll continue to grow for their whole life.
Andrew says the sulcata tortoise is one of the most popular tortoises sold in the pet trade. And with a lifespan of about 120 years, they come with a lifelong commitment from potential owners. What do you think about buying a tortoise like this?
Well, you know, it's kind of a toss-up. If you are dedicated to the animal and you want a tortoise, you know, that's your passion and you're into them, you know, if you take proper care of them and you do your research and you realize what you're getting into, then yeah, they're non-aggressive. They, like I said, they have longevity. They're fairly easy as far as diet, but you just have to take into consideration everything that is entailed in caring for these animals. And that's where a lot of times we have the issue is people get them and they don't realize everything that's involved in taking care of them.
Because of the Mata Mata turtle's happy-shaped mouth, they can't chew their food. Instead, they swallow their prey whole. There are very important people, and then there are very important pets. Today's VIP has a life fit for a king. Regular massages, a private dock, and fresh veggies every day. Sometimes a dog's life ain't bad.
Malachi was actually a gift to me from my daughter. I had my first Australian Shepherd in the 70s. My brother and I watched a guy throw him out the window of his truck. So we rescued him and took him home, and I fell in love with the breed. And he's actually my 5th Aussie.
Now, how old is Malachi?
He's 2.
Is he in the terrible twos?
He's in the terrible twos, and as you can see, he wants his belly rubbed right now.
We know that your profession is one of being a massage therapist. Is this something that you do for Malachi?
I do, actually. He gets worked on quite a bit because he's also an athlete, so I work on him. He does dock diving. We dock dive with the Ultimate Air Dogs. He also does up dog, which is frisbee, and we compete in that. And he also does, well, it's not really athletics, but he does canine nose work. Because if I didn't keep him busy, he'd keep me busy. He is very active. You don't want one of these dogs if you don't have the time to spend with them. When he comes to work with me, which is almost every day, when I go home, we have to go out and play frisbee at least 3 different times between the time I get home and the time we go to bed. Because in here, he turns into a different dog when he walks through the doors.
And what would you say the major benefits of the massage are for Malachi?
For Malachi himself, I think it just helps to keep him in shape, keeps him from getting any injuries, because just like with people, if you give them a massage before they go to compete, you're loosening them up, helping them stretch. It keeps him from hurting himself when he is out there doing active jumping and running, and when he hits the ground, you know, they hit it hard. They're so much like we are in so many ways, and I don't see how it can do anything but help with all of that. He's my best friend. We go everywhere together.
Up next, it's time for the Dog of the Week, the Imperial Shih Tzu. This breed was almost wiped out when the communists took over China, and we'll explain why when we return. Well, Zeus, it's time for our favorite segment, the Dog of the Week, because the Shih Tzu was only owned by royalty. They were exterminated during the Communist Revolution, and fortunately for us, 14 dogs survived. And today, every single Shih Tzu is descended from those 14 dogs. Meet our Dogs of the Week. Their name is said to mean lion dog, but you're about to see there is nothing fierce about these little dogs. I am here, Richard, with you and these beautiful, beautiful creatures. We have Aurora, and we have Star. And these are Shih Tzus.
Correct.
What a history this dog has, huh?
Yeah, they go back to about 800 BC. They're considered, the DNA has them as considered as an ancient dog on that breed.
Now, what purpose did they really serve way back then?
Just lap dogs, keep foot warmers for the royalties. You could, if you were not a royalty, you could not own it.
And Richard Weber's Shih Tzu Star and Aurora are the ones who get the royal treatment at his home. To keep these dogs looking regal, be ready for constant grooming. I am totally amazed, Richard, at the grooming of these. Is it an everyday thing?
Well, Aurora, yes, because she is in show. She has her show coat. She's only 7 months old. She's only about 7 pounds.
But she's fluff.
That's all it is. That's why.
She is fluff.
She has long. She's got her long hair. That's what show condition is, where you have the long hair goes all the way to the floor.
There are some pug-like characteristics in the Shih Tzu.
Correct.
And they are?
They're flat-faced, their nose, and that way. They have to drink from like a rabbit bottle, because if they turn around and drink from a bowl, their whole face will be soaking wet every time.
Shih Tzus are known as friendly, affectionate dogs who get along with other animals, making them a popular family pet. But beware, if you bring them into your home, you likely won't remain king of your castle anymore. Now here's an interesting fact. Shih Tzu literally means lion dog. It was named that because it was specially bred to look like a Tibetan lion. So there you go. We'll be back with a tip from the doc, Dr. Dog. Every week we find an interesting medical tip that might answer a question that you have. Here's Dr. Dog.
Hyperbaric oxygen therapy started many, many moons ago, obviously, and it has evolved thanks to the Navy for decompression chambers, and it has come back in the medical field. You have these chambers, these big, massive submarine-looking things that you go in, and what does it do to your body? It's going to take 100% pure oxygen, and it's going to push it. Oxygen in your body is picked up by your red cells, about 2 molecules in your lungs, and it goes travel to your tissue, gets delivered. Carbon dioxide gets picked up instead, delivered back to the lungs, and so forth. That's what the red cells do. They carry oxygen. That's why when you get anemia, you can't breathe well. Your tissue is damaged and hurt. You can imagine hyperbaric helps. At that point, hyperbaric pressurizes oxygen beyond that oxygen red cell carrying capacity to the plasma, so the fluid in which the red cells are floating, and pushes it into the tissues even further. So if you have, for example, a stroke, well, call that because it's used for strokes all the time, you have an area that's got no oxygen. It's been blocked by a clot, and oxygen will get there with the chamber. And thanks to that, we're actually seeing, over long periods of time of treatment, because it's not an overnight thing, we're seeing neurons come back, which is unheard of. We used to think neurons never come back, and they do. They do. In our situation here in Sarasota, it's having access for people. We are the only canine feline animal chamber in this area. We certainly cannot accommodate horses, but too small. But there's really nobody else in this area, and I would think every ER should have one because of all the benefits. It treats pancreatitis, it treats anything like polyarthritis, all my meningitis, inflammation of the brain, I put in there as well. Every cancer I have, and my own cat survived lymphoma over 2 years when it's supposed to be 6 to 12 months. I have a cat, a patient of mine, that survived an aggressive cancer climbing in the brain because of using the chemotherapy and hyperbaric, and it's cancer-free more than a year later when he's supposed to live about 80 days. So when you look at all of that, it's flabbergasting what a chamber can do. And there's so many potentials. So hopefully in the future, we'll hear even more options for us as humans.
You can watch full episodes of Animal Outtakes by subscribing to our YouTube channel. Just visit youtube.com/Animal Outtakes.
Well, Zeus, my dear friend, we've done it again. Another great edition of Animal Outtakes, and we hope that you have had fun and learned something along the way. Until next week, I'm Marcia Panucci, and thanks for joining us. Why are you being so stubborn? You're being German stubborn now. That includes my buddy Zeus, who is not here. Zeus! That's it now. Let's go. Zeus!